Bismillahirrahmanirrahim and Assalamu alaikum to all my students. I hope all of you are good and doing well at your home. I am also good, Alhamdulillah. So, students, today what we are going to learn today. As you can see from the picture that we are going to study something from biology. Okay, so basically we are going to start our new chapter from biology. Okay, from the section biology. So, which chapter we are going to start is chapter number 4 on page number 73 of your bio book. Okay, so what is the title of the chapter number 4? As you can see from the picture, that what does it mean? What we are going to study today? We are going to study something about viruses, bacteria, and cyanobacteria. So, viruses, bacteria, and cyanobacteria is the chapter name of your today's topic, and this is basically your chapter number 4 of biology book. Okay, and I have told you earlier that this is from biology section and lecture number 9. And you know who I am. I am your science teacher, Miss Falaknas. Okay, so before starting, I want to tell you that what we are going to learn today. As you can see here, that chapter name is viruses, bacteria, and cyanobacteria. That means we are going to cover these three different types of organisms in this chapter. So we will quickly go through one by one of each of them, but not now only in this lecture, but in the upcoming lecture as well. So today we are going to cover only two topics, that are number one, microorganisms as a heterogeneous group of organisms, and number two is viruses. Okay, so today we are going to start from viruses, not from bacteria and cyanobacteria. Bacteria and cyanobacteria we will study in our next classes or next lecture, but today we are going to study only about viruses, its characteristics, and the structure of virus as well. So let's start from microorganisms as a heterogeneous group of organisms. Let's check it out. What does it mean? So microorganisms as a heterogeneous group of organisms. Here you have two different types of name here. The microorganism and the second one is heterogeneous group. What does it mean by heterogeneous? Heterogeneous means a thing that are different. Hetero means, different groups. Okay. So microorganisms as a heterogeneous group of organism means what? First of all, I'm going to tell you the definition of microorganism. The minute living organisms which cannot be seen without the help of microscope are called microorganisms. Means the tiny living organisms. Okay, living organisms. We are talking here about the living one, because in biology we will only discuss about the living one, not the non-living organism. So the tiniest living organisms which cannot be seen without the help of microscope, they are called microorganisms. You can see that there are two types of organism, micro or macroorganisms. So macroorganisms are those that can be seen with the help of naked eye. But if you cannot observe any object with the help of your common eye and you need microscope to observe them, that organism will be considered as microorganism. Okay. Now, what does it mean that microorganism as a heterogeneous group of organisms? Students, if we talk about the animal kingdom, if we talk about the kingdom animal, so in kingdom animal, we have different types of animals. Like we have human beings, we have cat, dog, tiger. So all these are basically animal, but basically they are different from each other. Similarly, microorganism is a heterogeneous group, means inside the microorganisms, you have different types of microorganisms that are different from each other. Okay, now I'm going to tell you what are those, or just suppose microorganism, they form, just suppose here what you have, they form a heterogeneous group. They means who? Microorganism. Microorganisms form a heterogeneous group, mean inside the microorganisms you have different types of organisms, means microorganisms are different from each other. So which include number one, the most common that are now that the most common nowadays that are viruses. So viruses basically a microorganism, but they are different from other microorganisms. Just suppose another microorganism here you have is the most common one, that is bacteria. So viruses and bacteria both are microorganisms, but obviously both are different from each other. That's why we say that microorganisms form a heterogeneous group of living organisms. Means viruses and bacteria both are same, both are microorganisms, but yet they are different from each other. Some other microorganisms are cyanobacteria. Okay, now viruses, bacteria, and cyanobacteria. This is your chapter's name. Okay, so one by one I am going to tell you what are viruses, bacteria, and cyanobacteria. So please do not get confused today. In this lecture, just keep in your mind that these are living organisms, and what type of living organisms? That are microorganisms. Okay, and another other type of microorganisms include protozoa. Protozoa is another group of living organisms that are considered as the microorganism, as well as you have some unicellular algae and fungi. Unicellular algae and fungi or also microorganism, means they can only be observed with the help of naked eye. Okay, what I'm going to tell you here, that these organisms are different from each other. So what are those characteristics that make them different from each other? So if we talk about bacteria and cyanobacteria, if we talk about bacteria and cyanobacteria, so basically they are prokaryotes. Prokaryotes means what? They do not have a complete nucleus. I have explained it, that what are prokaryotes? Prokaryotes mean the organism that do not have complete nucleus. So that type of organisms are considered as prokaryotes, and they studied under kingdom Prokaryota, that is Monera. Okay, so bacteria and cyanobacteria are prokaryotes. Okay. Now, the next is the rest of the microorganism, means apart from bacteria and cyanobacteria, rest of the microorganisms are eukaryotes, means they have complete nucleus, and they studied under kingdom Protoctista, that is Protista. Okay, so bacteria and cyanobacteria are prokaryotes, and obviously other microorganisms are eukaryotes. Both of all of them are all of them are microorganisms, but they are different because some of them are prokaryotes and some of them are eukaryotes. That's why they form a heterogeneous group. Okay, as well as if you talk about bacteria, so bacteria are heterotroph as well as autotroph. Heterotroph means those organisms that cannot make their food by themselves. So those organisms should be considered as heterotrophs. Okay, and autotrophs means those organisms that can make their food by themselves. So some bacteria can make their food by themselves, some cannot. Okay, so that's why some bacteria are heterotrophs and some are autotrophs. Okay. Next, if we talk about cyanobacteria and algae, you know, cyanobacteria and algae both are microorganisms, but both of them are autotroph. Okay, if we talk about cyanobacteria, the cyanobacteria is prokaryote and algae is belong to kingdom Protoctista, or you can say they are eukaryotes. But cyanobacteria and algae are autotrophs, mean they can make their food by themselves. Protozoa, if we talk about another type of microorganism that are protozoa, the protozoas are basically heterotroph. That means they cannot make their own food. But if we talk about viruses, so what are viruses? So basically, viruses lie somewhere between living and non-living organism. Okay, means viruses sometimes considered as living organism, and sometimes they are considered as non-living organisms. Okay, so what does it mean? And when they will consider living and non-living organisms, what are the characteristics of living viruses and what are the characteristics of non-living viruses? I'm going to tell you in my upcoming slides or in my upcoming lectures as well. Okay, so let's start from viruses, the most important and nowadays most trending topic, that is virus. So first of all, you should know where the word comes from. So basically, the word virus derived from a Latin word viron. Okay, it derived from a Latin word viron that means poison. Okay, what does it mean? Virus means poison, means it will cause infection in the living organism. Autotrophs are those that can make their food by themselves, and heterotrophs cannot make their food by themselves. Simple. Okay. Now, they are the smallest, the simplest. Okay. The smallest and the simplest, perhaps the most primitive living things. Means they are smallest. You know what are smallest and what are simplest means. And perhaps the most primitive. Primitive means ibtidai, means the earliest form of life, earliest living things that can be found on earth. So viruses are considered as the most primitive living things. Okay. And you can know that, and you can see that the word derived from a Latin word that is viron, that means poison. Okay. Now, next, before starting the characteristics and structure of virus, let's go through the events that led to the discovery of virus. Means what are the events that lead to the discovery of viruses? Okay. So one of the most important thing that lead to the discovery of viruses is tobacco mosaic disease or tobacco mosaic virus. So what is this? Look at here. Tobacco mosaic disease occur in tobacco plant leaves. As the name indicate, tobacco is a plant. So this is the disease that occur in tobacco plant leaves. Okay. And the second term is mosaic. What does it mean by mosaic? As you can see here in this picture, if you look here, these are the leaves of tobacco plants. So if you can see this type of patches, so these type of passage basically is considered as the disease. Okay. So mosaic is this type of appearance of the disease, or you can say appearance of something like this, that in different pattern. So tobacco mosaic disease is occurred in tobacco plant leaves, but the cause was unknown. Okay, the cause was why unknown? Because on earlier basis, most of the scientists think that they thought that the many diseases in man and other organisms were caused by bacteria. Okay, before the discovery of viruses, all the biologists thought that the diseases basically is caused by the bacteria. Most of the diseases and some diseases are caused by bacteria only. But one such disease, that is tobacco mosaic virus, puzzled them. They thought, they find it out that this disease is not due to the bacteria. So if the bacteria is not responsible for this disease, what is this? Why this disease is appearing in tobacco plant? So, Russian biologist Ivanovsky showed that the disease was due to something smaller than bacteria. Okay, what he showed that? He showed that the disease was something due to something smaller than bacteria. So, what is that? He named them viruses. Who named them? Ivanovsky. Ivanovsky is the biologist, Russian biologist, who find it out that disease is something smaller than bacteria, and that organism is basically virus. Okay, so this is the most important thing, or this tobacco mosaic virus or tobacco mosaic disease led to the discovery of viruses. But he only find it out, or he only said that there is something smaller than bacteria, but he failed to describe the structure and the characteristics of viruses. Why is that so? Because they are too minor, too simple, too you can say tiny particles that cannot be even observed by the help of simple, or you can say compound microscopes. That's why he was not able to give the proper structure of viruses. But in 1935, a new kind of microscope, the electron microscope, was constructed. As you can see here, the picture of electron microscope. What I'm telling you that viruses cannot be observed with the help of compound microscope. So after the discovery of electron microscope, scientist Wendell Stanley, okay, Wendell Stanley was able to crystallize the infectious particles, now known as tobacco mosaic virus, or in short we can say TMV. Okay, what he did to visualize or to demonstrate the structure and characteristics of virus, he crystallized the infectious particle. Okay, the particles that are causing infection in the tobacco plants. What he did, he make the crystals of that particle, and under this electron microscope, he observed the structure of that living organism, that infectious particle. And now he named them, that is tobacco mosaic virus. Previously, it was known as tobacco mosaic disease. Now it is known as tobacco mosaic virus because it has been now confirmed that this disease is due to the virus but not bacteria. Okay. So now move on to the characteristics of viruses, means what are the main characteristics of viruses. First of all, viruses are non-cellular obligate parasites. One thing that I'm going to tell you or clear you here is that viruses are non-cellular. Why non-cellular? If you talk about bacteria and other microorganisms, they have a proper cellular structure, means unicellular and multicellular organism. Unicellular means the organism that are comprised of only one cell. But viruses are even not a cellular structure, means they do not have a proper cell as well. Okay, then they are obligate parasites, means they depend on the other living organisms for their growth, for their development, and for their reproduction as well. Means they are non-cellular, means they do not have any cell, and they are obligate parasites because they depend on other living cells, or you can say on other host cells for the growth, development, for the food and everything. Means they can survive on their host cells only. Agar if they do not have the host cell, so they cannot be able to live. Okay. Now, if they are a non-cellular structure, so how they are composed of? They have basically only two things: a protein coat. Mainly I'm talking about that. Mainly viruses have two things: a protein coat and a nucleic acid. Protein, there is a coating that is made, that is of protein, and inside the protein coat they have a nucleic acid. What is nucleic acid? Nucleic acid is an organic substance. So viruses have mainly they have only two things, that are protein coat, and inside the protein coat they have nucleic acid, that are basically organic substance. Okay, and this nucleic acid contains all genetic information necessary for their growth and development. Next is they cannot live and reproduce outside of a living cell, as I have told you that because they are non-cellular structures, so they cannot live and reproduce outside of a living cell. Means they cannot live outside of a living cell. They considered as die. They are considered as non-living if they have no host cell. Okay. Next is the simple thing is they range in size from 20 nanometer to 250 nanometer. Okay, this is the size. Normally they range from 20 nanometer to 250 nanometer. Next is the most important thing: how will they reproduce? Because they are not a cellular structure. If they are a cellular structure, so how will they reproduce? Their cell will be simply divided into two parts, but they do not have a proper cell as well. So how they will reproduce? So they will reproduce by the help of their host cell. Just suppose this is any living cell, and virus is going to integrate into it. Okay, just suppose any virus, and virus is basically contain of this type of nucleic acid. So this, just suppose this is a virus, so virus what will do, they will insert into the host cell. This is the host cell, and when this cell will divide into two cell, so virus will also divide with the help of this cell. Okay, so basically this is called as replication. Means with the help of the host cell, the virus will make copy of itself. Okay, how will they reproduce? They will reproduce by the help of replication with the help of their host cell. Okay. Next thing is viruses are either virulent. Virulent means that cause infection, that cause poisons, and if they are virulent, so they can destroy the cell in which they live. Or you can say viruses can be of temperate nature. What does it mean by temperate nature? Temperate nature means remaining stable in their host genome, means they can remain stable in their host genome for a longer period of time. Some viruses are deadly viruses that when they infect the living organism, they will destroy their cell completely. And some viruses can survive in the living organism for a longer period of time. The thing that you have to keep it mind in your mind is that Viruses are not living organism and now not non-living. They lie between something living and non-living. When they will consider living, when they are when they are inside their host cell, they will considered as the living one. When they are found on any non-living surfaces, then they will considered as the non-living organism. Means for their growth, for their development, for their reproduction, they need a host cell. Okay. Now, these are the general characteristics of viruses. Now move on to the structure of virus. Structure means you know what type of structure virus contain. Okay. So it's start from the structure of virus. Its appearance means how they look like, how they appear to human eye. Obviously, you know you cannot observe it with the help of your naked eye or as well as with the help of compound microscope. You can only observe it with the help of electron. Abdul Rahman, I am going to give you answer of this question at the end of the session. I'm going to tell you about coronavirus as well, whether it is living or non-living. Okay, Abdul Rahman? So please hold on. Okay, now the appearance. If you talk about the appearance, how they appeared, so they appear like small rods. Okay, they appear like small rods, tadpoles, or maybe polyhedrals, or like little spheres. If you can see here, here the different shapes of the viruses are here. If the viruses is considered as helical, so this will be the shape of helical virus. If they are polyhedral, so this is the shape of polyhedral virus. If they are spherical, so this is the shape of spherical viruses. So helical viruses are basically, you have tobacco mosaic virus that you have studied today. Then you have another type of virus, that is adenovirus, that is polyhedral in appearance. And then you have spherical in shape virus, is the most common, is the influenza virus, the virus that causes flu in human beings. Okay. And another type of virus that have a complex structure is bacteriophage. Okay, name, although with the name you have bacteriophage, so you consider that it is some type, some sort of bacteria, but no, I'm going to tell you in my next slide that what does bacteriophage mean. But bacteriophage basically is a virus and it has a complex structure. Okay, so all these are the viruses and their appearances. Okay, now if we talk about what they are consist of, so basically viruses may consist of, I am repeating again, viruses may. Okay, may means maybe these things are found inside the virus or maybe not. Okay, so the most important thing that all viruses must have is the nucleic acid. Means nucleic acid is an organic material that can found in all viruses. Okay, and the most important thing is capsids. Means all viruses have nucleic acids and capsids compulsory. Okay. Okay, some viruses have envelopes and some viruses have tail fibers as well. Not all viruses have envelopes and tail fibers, but all viruses have nucleic acid and capsid. Now, in the next slides, I'm going to tell you nucleic acid, capsids, envelopes. What are these? What does it mean that nucleic acid, capsids, what are they? Okay, now start from one by one. Now let's start from nucleic acid. As I have told you earlier that nucleic acid is an organic material, is an organic substance. Okay, so, their nucleic acid may consist of a single or several molecules of DNA or RNA. Basically, nucleic acids are of two types, okay? Either they are DNA or either they are RNA. DNA means deoxyribonucleic acid and RNA means ribonucleic acid. No need to remember the full name of this one here. Here, what you have to keep in your mind that their nucleic acid may be of DNA or RNA. Here you can see the picture of DNA and here you can see the picture of RNA. Okay, these are single RNA, single molecule of RNA. This is the single molecule of DNA. This is the double molecule of DNA and this is the double molecule of RNA. So what are these? Basically, these are the nucleic acids. Nucleic acids are of two types, DNA and RNA. What does it mean, nucleic acid, DNA or RNA? Basically, DNA contains tiny particle on their surface. Okay, DNA contains tiny particle on their surface, and these tiny particles are called as tiny units, are called as genes. Now these genes basically carries all the necessary information for the growth and development. Means if an organism want to grow and develop, he must have, the organism must have DNA or RNA, because in DNA and RNA all the genetic information lie inside their genes. Okay, so DNA and RNA is must. So basically viruses do not have a cell, but they have DNA. Okay, and if they have DNA, so it means they have genetic information for the growth and development. But for growth and development, for use their genetic information, they need some host cell, so they can survive on host cell. But if they do not have a living host cell, they cannot survive. Okay, now I have told you that they have smaller genes. So how many types of genes the virus may have? The smallest virus have only 4 genes, and while the largest virus may have up to 200 genes. Okay, what are genes? Genes contain, carry the genetic information, like the information about proteins, information about some other things as well. Okay, so these are the nucleic acid, and this is the main component of the virus. Means any cell, any living organism must have a nucleic acid. Okay, now the next is the capsid. Okay, what is capsid? Very simple. Here you can see the picture of capsid. What is capsid? The protein code. Okay, the protein code that encloses the nucleic acid is called a capsid. Here you can see the nucleic acid. Okay, this nucleic acid is basically encloses in a container, or you can say in something like a coating of what? Protein. So this coating is called as the capsid, inside which you can find the nucleic acid of the virus. Okay, basically it may be of different shape, means the capsid may be of different shape. This complete structure is called as the capsid, and inside the capsid nucleic acid is enclosed. Capsid is made up of protein subunits called capsomeres. Okay, basically it is made up of proteins. What I told you here, it is made up of protein, and those protein units that make up the capsid, they are called capsomeres. So protein coating is basically made up of capsomeres. Okay, so in virus you must have two things. One is nucleic acid, and second is this capsid inside which the nucleic acid lie. Okay, here you can see the picture of another capsid inside which RNA lies. Means here you have nucleic acid, and here you can say RNA. RNA is the type of nucleic acid. Okay, now next is envelope. As I have told you earlier that envelopes are not necessary part of the virus. Some viruses have envelopes and some viruses do not have envelope. Some viruses have accessory structure called viral envelopes. Viral envelopes help them to infect their host. Now look at here. This is the molecule of HIV virus, the virus that cause AIDS in human being. So here, if you can see here, inside the structure, what you have, these are the enzymes of the virus. And then what is this? Yellow portion, this is basically the RNA, means the nucleic acid of the virus. And then this nucleic acid is encloses in a protein coating that is called capsid. And now this capsid sometimes coating around inside the thing that is called envelope. Okay, as you can see, what are envelopes? Envelopes are nothing animals. They are basically membranes covering their capsids. What are envelopes? They are basically membranes inside their capsids found. Okay, means they are the membranes covering the capsid of the viruses. Okay, now the last part is the tail fibers. Okay, now last part is the tail fibers. Tail fibers again is not found in all living organisms, all viruses. Okay, so basically tail again is made up of protein molecules. Here you can see the picture of a virus that have a tail. Okay, tail and tail fibers. Okay, so tail is used to inject the viral DNA. Okay, if this is the cell, just suppose this is the cell, and they want to inject its DNA that is lie inside here. This is basically capsid, okay? So if they want to inject this DNA into this cell, so what they will do, they will insert it with the help of this tail or tail fibers. And the tail fibers are used to attach the host, means these are the tail fibers. 1 minute. As you can see here, that these are the tail fibers. So these tail, with the help of these tail fibers, they can attach on the host cell, and with the help of this tail, they can insert their DNA into the host cell. But again, it is not necessary that all viruses have tail and tail fibers. Okay, the last one is the structure of bacteriophage. What is bacteriophage? Now, what I'm going to tell you here is that phage means virus. Okay, phage means virus, and bacteriophage means the virus that infect the bacterial cell only. So bacteriophage is a virus that infect the bacterial cell only. Here I'm going to tell you only the structure of bacteriophage, or how it looks like. A complex bacteriophage is look like this. What they have what? Number one, they have capsid. You know what is capsid? Capsid is a protein coating. Inside the capsid, they have nucleic acid. Then they have collar, they have sheet, or you can say tail. They have base plate. With the help of this, their tail is attached, as well as they have spikes and tail fibers. And you know, tail fibers help them to attach to their host cell. This is the internal structure of the bacteriophage virus. Okay, so as you can see, this is their head. Okay, inside the head, what they have their DNA, and they have some other proteins that are required for the growth and development. What they will do, they will use this tail sheet to insert their this DNA into the host cell. So if this is their host cell, so what they will do, they will attach with the help of fibers, this tail fibers, onto the host cell, and with the help of this tail, they will insert their DNA into the host cell for infection. Okay, so this is the simple structure of bacteriophage. And you know what is bacteriophage? It is the virus that infect the bacterial cell only. Okay, now this is the end of the lecture. I'm going to end my lecture here, but before starting question answer session, I'm going to share one thing with you all, that is your assignment. Now look at here. This is basically your assignment. One thing that I'm going to tell you here, because you are going to start your new chapter today. So what you have to do, you have to first write down the chapter name in your index, then write down that, make the title page of chapter number 4, viruses and bacteria. Please do this work in biology copy. Okay, do this work in biology copy. And this is your question number 1 and question number 2. Now this is your question number 3. What you have to do, you have to draw the structure of this bacteriophage in your copy, but on interleaf page. Okay, on interleaf page. This figure is found on page number 75, so you can draw this figure from page number 75. And please do not forget to write the name of bacteriophage, that is the structure of bacteriophage, and please do not forget to label it. Okay, now I'm moving back to the slides again. Now please reply. TMV stands for what? Please write it down in the chat box, the answer of this. TMV stands for what? Yes, you will get the homework today. TMV stands for what? Class, please hurry up. Okay, Fauzia, Bisma, Abdul Kareem, Fatma Abdul Kareem, all of you are right. So TMV stands for what? TMV stands for Zimmel, you are right. TMV stands for tobacco mosaic virus. Bisma, you are right. Okay, now the next is, viruses were discovered by dash. Who discovered the viruses? I'm not talking about the crystallized form of viruses. What I'm asking you, that viruses were discovered by whom? Who biologists? I know it was discovered by biologists, but please tell me the name of that. Uh, yes, Fatma Abdul Kareem, you are right. Fawzia Fawad, you are right. Okay, what about others? So basically, Russian biologist. Okay, I know biologist, but please write down the name. Okay, Talha, your answer is right. Okay, so viruses were discovered by Ivanovsky. No Zimmel, it was discovered by Ivanovsky. Okay, Stanley was the one who crystallized the virus. Okay, now the next one is the protein code that encloses nucleic acid is called dash. The protein code that encloses nucleic acid is called dash. The protein code that encloses nucleic acid is called Sania Javed. Absolutely right. Fausia, you are right. What about others? Where are other students? Where are other students? No, nucleic acid core. I am asking about the nucleic acid core. Nucleic, no, Fatma. With a protein code that encloses your nucleic acid core is called capsid. Okay, move on to the next one. The smallest virus may have only dash genes. How many genes the smallest virus may have? Please write it down in the chat box. And please tell me. Okay, so Fatma, Bisma, Sania, all of you are right. Zimmel, you are right. That the smallest virus, the smaller number of genes the virus may have is 4. Okay, the next one is viruses are non-cellular dash parasites. Viruses are non-cellular dash parasites. Please tell me. Okay, so what is your answer? I'm going to check your answers. So obligate parasites. So Manahil, Fatma Abdul Kareem, Bisma, Anita, Zimmel, your answers are right. Okay, now move on to the next one. Number 6, bacteria and cyanobacteria are dash. What are they? Bacteria, I know they are microorganisms. Okay, I'm talking about whether they are prokaryotes or whether they are eukaryotes. Hmm? Okay, Fatma says, okay, Fatma, your answer is right. Romesa, your answer is right, but the spelling is slightly wrong. Okay, Abdul Rahman, you are right. Sheikh Muhammad Bilal, you are right. Zimil, you are right. So basically, bacteria and cyanobacteria are prokaryotes. Okay, and the last is viruses reproduced by dash. Viruses reproduced by dash. Viruses reproduced by dash. Okay, Sheikh Muhammad Bilad, your answer is right. What about other students? Where are you, beta? Iman Asif, Abdul Ahad, Abdul Rafi, Abdul Rahman, Zoha, Zoha Shiza, Abdullah Alam, Abdul Wasi, Abdul Sami. Where are you? So the correct answer is replication. Viruses reproduce by replication. So that's the end of the lecture. If you want to ask anything, please tell me. I'm going to answer your questions, and I know you have one most important question about the coronavirus. So I'm going to tell you is that corona is considered as living organism when they get their host cell. Okay, if they find out their host cell, so they will consider it as the living organism. But if they found on any non-living organism, on non-living matter, so coronavirus will be considered as the non-living organism. Means for their growth and development, they need host cell, or you can say the living cell. So at the end